Let's get started. I had some chicken and a little bit of ham. Let's make a casserole. The first thing we're going to do is make some rice, and of course it's about that much, maybe a cup and a half. And we're going to rinse it under some water, get all the starch out, or at least as much as we can. You can see there that the water is literally white. You do it a couple, 3 more times, and you end up with something somewhat clear. That's going to go into the microwave. Takes about, I'll take it out at 10, and 15 minutes should do. So our other ingredients are some red peppers. I'm going to chop them up. Now, of course, you can cut them up as big and as small as you want. That's all up to you. Put them aside till we need them. I was trying to think of what else could I throw in this, and of course you kind of open up the fridge and see what we've got. Well, I've got some mushrooms. I thought that would be kind of nice to throw into the mix. We gave them a nice rough chop because of course once they cook down they're going to shrink. So vegetables always look like there's way too much until you actually cook them. And we'll set these aside till we're ready for them. We also got to throw in some onions, of course. I don't think I'm going to use a ton of them, but I'll chop them all up so I've got some for my next dish. And we'll put these aside. I also had a block of cheese I needed to get rid of. This is smoked cheddar. I'm thinking, hey, it's time to clean out the fridge. Let's see what we've got. I've got enough to make a layer of cheese. But then I had some other cheese too. I had some mozzarella I really wanted to use. I took out a block of that and chopped that up too. Now, if you're not into shredding cheese, which sometimes I'm not really, this works just as well. You cut it into slices and it's going to get all melty. So the next thing we have is some ham. I'm going to chop that up into pieces. This is just ham I had actually in the freezer from a chunk of ham. This will work out fine. And I thought, let's use some of it. So we did. So here's our chicken. It was already a bag I had of frozen chicken. I'm just chopping up into smaller pieces. I know the chicken too will get a little smaller once you cook it. I'd rather it into bite-sized pieces. So we put that aside in a container. Here's our rice at the 10-minute mark. And you can see it's still kind of liquidy. So you give it a little stir. And then we're going to put it back in the microwave for another 5 minutes. Now the cool thing about rice is if you overcook it, just throw a little extra water in and it'll come right back, because I've done it. We'll check it at 3 minutes and it's likely another couple after that. So into our frying pan goes our chicken, because I'd like to make sure it's cooked before it goes in the oven. It doesn't have to be super cooked, but just past looking raw it will do. That way at least you know as it bakes in the oven, just in case, you know it's going to be okay. So of course to that I'm going to put some salt and pepper on it, just to give it a little extra flavor. And we're going to stir it all around and cook it all up. And it's not going to take too long. here we are. See how it's almost done? Not completely. Now we're going to put in our mushrooms and onions. Now we've got the mushrooms and onions pretty well cooked. We'll take this off and let's start assembling. So of course the first thing we need is all that yummy rice we made up in the microwave. That's going to be our bottom layer, and everything can kind of sink down to that. You can see a cup and a half does make quite a bit. If you got a smaller, casserole dish, make a little less rice. So we kind of leveled that out. I didn't pack it down too much. So our first layer of cheese is going to be cheese slices. Now I could use Velveeta, but this is a lot cheaper. So I use a few cheese slices, and I know it gets all nice and melty. For sure. Especially if you ever made, grilled cheese or anything else. Well, I know this works. Our next layer, of course, is the mozzarella that we sliced up, and I know that's going to get melty too. So the two of them are going to combine. Our ham pieces are our next layer. Oh, it looks good enough just to make it just like this now. But let's get our chicken, mushroom, and onions on for the next layer. And that is pretty well the bulk of the things that we're going to do. Now, I still had some leftovers in the fridge I wanted to use. Alright, next up, we're done with the chicken. Now goes the peppers we diced up. And of course, my buddy Kevin says I use too much of this, but it's my go-to ingredient, cream of mushroom soup. Doesn't that make everything taste good? And this one's a little liquidy, so as you can see, it just kind of poured out of the can. On top of that is our smoked cheddar, just a little bit. And right now I'm spooning out. I had some leftover gravy in the fridge. Let's top it up with that. A little bit of pepper. A little bit of basil, just because. Oh, and the last ingredient, I had some Parmesan cheese, so I used probably about a quarter cup. And I think that's good enough to go in the oven now. 350, 20 minutes or so, everything's pretty well cooked. And now you see when it comes out, doesn't that look good? And it is. Time to dig in. Well, I hope that made you hungry, and I hope that's something you're going to try. Listen, if you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up, a like below. And if I haven't talked you into it yet, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. That'll tell you the next time I upload a video. And I really hope you enjoyed this. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye.